Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Well, due to popular demand, today we're going to be focusing on the equipment market. In other words, what is going on with truck and trailer sales and demand and inventories? Why is it important to keep track of these things? Well, it's simple. If we see that inventories are skyrocketing for used trucks and trailers, but prices are dropping, we can right away tell that people are selling off their equipment faster than others are buying it. And that tells us something about capacity. Anyway, let's get into this video. Ready? Let's go. Now, before we actually do start, I do have a quick announcement to make. It's a pretty significant announcement in my opinion. After thinking about it for a while, I decided to start a Patreon. Now, it's not ready quite yet, but once it is, I'll make a community post on this YouTube channel. Now, before anyone panics, I want to assure you that it changes nothing on this YouTube channel. Here, it's business as usual, educational content, weekly market updates and forecasts, and so on and so forth. Now, on my Patreon, I will have several membership tiers, and they will include different things. Each one will include ad-free videos that are not posted on YouTube. For example, we will have weekly market movers where we will explore what is happening in the industry every week and how it affects operations. We will also have weekly capacity insights where we will look at how many carriers obtained their authority, not just applied, but obtained. They actually got the certificate of authority because they paid their insurance and BOC3, how many carriers got their authority revoked, and how many people voluntarily gave up their authority. And that way we can track the weekly increase in authorities versus decrease in authorities to track the net change in carrier population. And yes, it is going to be on a weekly basis. Now, there will be a third tier, but that one is good only for dispatchers because that's the tier where I will provide a weekly list of clients that they can use in order to expand their business. And all members, regardless of the membership tier, will have access to the private Discord room that I made for Patreon. Now, Discord is basically a live chat, not a forum, where you can chat with fellow members about the trucking industry. I will be there as well, answering questions if there are any, but it gives us a chance to build an even stronger community. Again, this changes absolutely nothing on this YouTube channel. So if you're not interested in joining Patreon, don't worry, you will still receive the same educational content I put out every single week. Anyway, that was a super long announcement, so let's get back to trucks and trailers. Okay, first and foremost, these charts will be attached down below as usual. Second of all, we are going to be looking at Sandhills charts at first, starting with used heavy-duty trucks that include sleepers and day cabs. On this side, we see the asking value and the auction values of these trucks. Now on this side, we see the inventory levels. So we're gonna zoom in here on the asking versus auction prices. Now the asking value is in the blue line. The auction value is the green line. What we can see is that the auction value is down almost 30% year over year, whereas the asking prices are down almost 21% year over year. Now let's go ahead and zoom into the inventory levels, and we can see that the inventory levels are up 30% year over year. Okay, so let's break it down. We can see that inventory levels have been climbing, which tells us that people are getting rid of their used trucks, sleepers, and day cabs more and more, while the prices for those trucks has been dropping. So what do we have? We have a situation where the supply of inventory is increasing, but because we can see that the prices are decreasing, that means there's no demand for those used trucks. Now, there could be a ton of reasons for this. One of them is new carriers are not looking to get into this industry as much, which would be a good sign. Another reason could be that some fleet owners are renewing their equipment and ordering new trucks instead of keeping their used trucks. But one thing is for sure, the demand for used trucks is dropping. Now let's take a look at this chart by Sonar, which shows us the Class 8 trucks equipment orders, basically orders placed for new trucks. Now we're looking at a 5-year period in order to compare the pattern to something. Currently we can see, and this is until the end of April, unfortunately this data gets updated every single month and it's a month behind. At the end of April, we see there is a huge decline in orders. But if we look every year, we can see let's start with 2022. April of 2022, there was a decline. April 2021 decline, April 2020 decline. So basically it seems like there is a pattern. Now, according to FTR, order activity is down 37% month over month and 20% year over year. Now, what could be the reason for the decline right now and in previous years? Well, it's simple. It's not necessarily because there's a lack of demand starting in April. It's because most of the build slots have been already filled. Now, this chart shows us the actual average prices for those used trucks. Now, we have a 3-year-old used truck, 4-year-old, and 5-year-old. The blue line represents 3-year-old used trucks. The orange line is 4 years old, and the white line is 5 years old. So again, we're looking back 5 years. We can see that the peak of prices was somewhere in April of last year. Currently, 3-year-old trucks are averaging at $86,000 or $87,000 to sell them. Now, 4-year-old trucks are averaging $66,000, and 5-year-old trucks, $51,600. Now, just to give you a comparison, and you will see this in the chart, 3-year-old trucks back in April of 2022 were selling over $140,000. 4-year-old trucks were selling somewhere around $115,000. And 5-year-old trucks were selling somewhere around the $92,000 mark. So that is quite a drop. So the question I keep getting is it a good time to buy a used truck? And I would say no. I reckon that the inventory levels will continue increasing and the prices will continue decreasing. Now, to top it off, a ton of smaller carriers are operating with used equipment, and used equipment is prone to bigger breakdowns and higher bills, maintenance and repair bills. Just to give you an example, our used truck that we have been operating, the one with the transmission issue, is costing us another $11,000 because another thing broke in that truck. So it became popular to say that small carriers are just one significant breakdown away from bankruptcy. So we can expect that small carriers will be more likely to sell off their equipment and get out of this industry, or at least get out of owning their own business, to be able to get out with as few losses as humanly possible. Okay, now we're moving on to semi-trailers, specifically dry vans, reefers, flatbeds, and drop deck trailers. Again, we have the value of the equipment here and the inventory levels here. So we're going to zoom in on the values, and we can see that the asking value of semi-trailers is down almost 23% year over year, while the auction value is down almost 32% year over year. If we look at the inventory levels, we can see they skyrocketed, and currently they are going down a little bit, but still they're 43% higher year over year. So now we're going to look at the Sonar chart again, and we're going to look at the orders for platform trailers, flatbeds, step decks, etc. And we can see this is again a 5-year chart. currently the orders are going down. I think part of the reason is people who are getting flatbeds, they need them right now to catch the wave, so to speak. Flatbeds are the most seasonal trailer out there. So instead of placing new orders this time of year, it could be build slots, but it could also be the fact that people are renting and leasing those flatbed trailers to get them right away. Now let's take a look at the same chart, but for dry van trailers. Now for dry vans, there is a significant decrease, but it looks like it's following the same historical pattern. Here is April of 2022, huge decrease. April of 2021, decrease. 2020, decrease. 2019, decrease. So nothing crazy going on here. Now, if we look at reefer trailers, we can see that there is actually an increase in orders for the reefer trailers. Now, if we look at the historical data, we can see that the peaks or the increases start somewhere in April, historically speaking, except for 2022. 2022 was a different year, clearly. But in general, starting somewhere in the summer, the reefer orders start increasing. And it's funny, it gives me some insight, and it should give you some insight into consumer behavior and how we think. At least this is what I am assuming. Because produce begins somewhere in April, May, usually, spot market rates for reefers start increasing, right? Because reefers are really in demand. And people seeing those increases, they start buying those trailers, hoping to catch the trend, or that trend is not going to change. This is part of the reason I absolutely love statistics, because it shows us so much more than just numbers, right? Now, unfortunately, unlike for trucks, there is no chart available showing the average trailer prices. So I decided to make my own chart. I used the trailer prices posted on TruckStop as of today. I did averages for all three types of trailers from 2018 to 2020. And this is the chart I came up with. So starting with dry vans. For a 2020 dry van, the average was $39,000. For a 2019 dry van, it was $34,000 and $31,000 for a 2018 dry van. Now let's go to reefers. For a 2020 reefer, the average price was $70,000, which I think is ridiculously high. For a 2019, it was $62,000, and for a 2018, it was $54,000. Finally, we have flatbeds. For a 2020 flatbed 48 foot, it was $39,000, $37,000 for a 2019 model, and $34,500 for a 2018 model. So that's what's happening for equipment at the moment. While new orders are not quite reliable at this time of year in terms of telling us about demand because of those build order slots that we talked about, inventory levels for trucks and trailers clearly show us that people are getting rid of their equipment. Now, does this mean that the amount of dispatchable trucks is decreasing in this industry? Well, not necessarily, because some people who sell off their equipment, they go ahead and work for a bigger carrier using their equipment. Others leave this industry completely. But one thing is for sure, equipment prices are continuing to drop due to the current market conditions. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you guys in the next one.